All right, so in part one of this, when I referenced Queen, I said Eddie Murphy instead of Freddie Mercury. And I'm just going to clarify that before you start watching this. The reason why that happened was because I've been watching Shrek with my son, and Eddie Murphy plays the donkey. Anyway, so Freddie Mercury. Sorry. Okay, now it starts. See ya. Hey, it's Rob Wog. So this is a fun segment that I want to do, and I want to do it because, and this is going to sound really old of me, but I just don't reckon music's any good anymore these days. I don't think it, 100% sucks, but there's no. To me, we've lost the whole classic album. There's no more classic albums anymore. And if there is, you shoot me a fucking email and you tell me what it is, and I'll check it out and I'll review it. But I'm gonna for all the kids growing up right now, you've got the like such access to all music, saturated with just so much stuff. But it just seems to me that bands today just don't have the same vibe as it did before. And I know that sounds, oh, he's just an old cunt and blah blah. But if you are up and coming muso, or you love, you're starting to get into heavy metal or music in general, and this is my tip to you, and these are records that I recommend, and there's a whole pile of records, and I'm fucking excited because I love it, man, because I want to talk about a bit about each record and what it means to me. But I'm going to start. I'm going to just start because there is a story behind this record, and it's one of my favourite bands. I don't have a favourite band, but I have favourites. But there it is. What a fucking record this is, right? And I remember buying this as a kid. This was in the bargain bin at JB Hi-Fi. And if you're not Australian, JB Hi-Fi is just a chain of stores that sells stuff. But back in the day, see, when they used to clip them, it was because they were promos, and they didn't want people to get the promos and resell them, so they would clip them like that. And these were put in the bargain bin. So I bought this. I think I paid, at the time, I probably would have paid $4 or $5 for this. Oh my god, was that the best $5? So there is a story behind this record. This is Thin Lizzy are one of those bands where you need to listen to, because to me they're so versatile. They're not just blues, heavy metal, hard rock. They are soul. They've got everything in them. And so if you're a metalhead and you want to... So this is where I'm talking about with bands today. They don't write music that has any depth to me. It's all about trying to play fast or trying to look good or whatever. And they just don't... I don't give two fucks about how fast you play. It's about what you're playing. And that is totally about what you're fucking playing. This album is insane for its time. And the funny story about this was, I was working on a tour, and I was in Sydney, and fucking this guy, this driver came to my hotel to pick me up and take me to the airport. So I'm sitting, and the driver it's just making conversation with me. And I had a Thin Lizzy shirt on. He goes, "Oh, you like Thin Lizzy?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I fucking love Thin Lizzy." He goes, "Oh, I engineered one of their albums." I'm like, "Bullshit, you did?" He goes, "Yeah, I fucking did." This guy was old. I'm thinking, this guy's talking shit. He engineered this record, picked me up from the fucking hotel, took me to the airport. What a trip! That's just crazy. So I got to meet the guy, and he's a fucking grouse dude, and he gave me some great stories. In fact, when we got to the the airport, we sort of just sat in the car and spoke about music. But that is one record definitely that you need to have in your collection. And if people can't afford it, you know what? Download it. We all do it, but I'm not saying, just go get it. I'd rather you have it than not, because this is a must in your collection. And so my hope is that kids listen to this stuff, and then when they make bands, They're good bands and not shit fucking bands. But anyway, Thin Lizzy, Chinatown, definitely a must in your fucking record collection. Right. So some of these, they're not good. I'm going to try and do like, there's going to be some bands that aren't obscure and everyone's going to have heard of them. But I want to try and give you the records that most people don't put on or listen to or know of these bands. And I think they are the most important records of these bands, right? And this one is Van Halen, Fair Warning. Wow, what a record. Now, if you're a fucking guitar head, you want to know how to play, you want to learn how to fucking play with fucking style, listen to this record. Even if you're a drummer, this record is so before its time. I remember, because, I'd heard Van Halen, but when I came home and put this fucking record on and I heard that guitar sound, like, that's a heavy metal record. I don't care what anyone says, that's a heavy metal record. That's what heavy metal should sound like. Like, what a fucking lineup, and what they did in the studio with this fucking piece of music. You'll know what I'm talking about. Go on YouTube and listen to it before you even buy it. If you don't want to, just go out and buy it. But this is definitely a heavy metal must in your collection if you're a fucking metalhead or a music head. What am I talking about? Now, for all you power metal heads, this is where I think power metal sort of came from. I mean, Motorhead were doing, some stuff, but power metal, bam. Dio and Blackmore together, what a combination. This record, when I talk about before its time, wow, this is like, it's got Cozzy Powell, like, that is what a band should look like, shouldn't it? They're not even that good looking, and this is a great record. You don't have to be pretty to buy their fucking record, or they don't have to be fucking whatever, That, to me, if you like Dio, or, Deep Purple, because obviously Blackmore's from Deep Purple, Dio was in Black Sabbath, and those sort of bands, check this out, because this record was way before its time, and if you're a metalhead, it's a must. Definitely a must. And it's seriously, and the opening track on this Terrible Woman, wow. Get that record. All right. Now, I want to talk about one of my favourite bands, and everyone knows them, but no one really knows their early stuff, and I just don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't know how these records weren't more popular than the ones that, people were going out of their way to... actually, I've got a few of them here. Here we go. Right, so, because there's a few that you need to get, and this is it. Queen. Sheer Heart Attack. This... Oh, and just so you know, Brian May, the guitarist of Queen, is a vegan animal rights activist. But anyway, I'm not going to get into the vegan thing, but this record is tough. It's a tough record. Queen, everyone knows them for their, their big hits like Bohemian Rhapsody and stuff like that, which is a fucking great song. But to me, they were a tough band. They weren't just fucking around. They were like Eddie Murphy, to me, they were almost, they had punk in them, to me. They were like that edge to them for their time. And this record, their first record, that if you're a metalhead, get this fucking record. The sound on that record is so fat and heavy. Like, wow. This band is one of the greatest fucking rock bands of all time. Queen. And, anyone that knows Queen's probably never heard any songs off this record. And, metalheads, music heads, get this record. It's a must. It's such a must. And same with this. This is a bit dear to me because I actually, remember getting this in the 70s. And it has, the classic Bohemian Rhapsody. But what a fucking album. what a fucking good looking band. You know, like seriously, that to me, like Death on Two Legs, the opening track, it's just, it's it's heavy metal, like it's heavy, and the guitar playing and the songwriting on this record is off the planet, off the planet. Get this record, it's a must. If you think you're a metalhead and you don't have that, you're not a metalhead yet. Right. So now I want to talk. Look, where do I start? Well, I'm going to end on this one. And then I'm going to make another one, all right? Or maybe I'll do two. I'll do two. I will. I'll do two. I'll do these two. Right, cool. So, another band that was, like, it just escaped everyone. And I remember as a kid growing up, my brother brought home an album of theirs. It's a band called UFO. He bought an album called Fawcett. And I fucking loved that. I just fell in love with it straight away. But one record that I just fucking love, and it's a bit of an obscure one for them, is this one. Mechanics. Seriously, it's a fucking good record. If you're into like early Def Leppard and stuff like that, it's sort of in that vein, but it's really, really well written. And the funny thing is, I saw an interview with the band, and they weren't too much of a fan of this era of themselves, which I find really strange. It's the more metal side of them, but this has got some seriously. The first song, The Rider. Oh, to me, this record is such a massive sound and I can't believe it didn't do well, and it's a shame because this band are killer band. Michael Schenker used to be in this band. But what a great band. All right, so the last one I'm going to end on with this session, because I'm going to do a few of them. All right, so this is part one to what you should be listening to if you're a music head or a metal head. Right, now this record is, because look, heaps of people hate concept records. I'm a big prog fan, but this record, and I've gotten a lot of people into this record. I'll be driving in the car, we'll be going for a long drive, and I'll put it on, and they'll just be like, what the fuck are we listening to? We're listening to War of the Worlds. Oh my God, what a fucking great record. This record, if you like prog, if you your likes a bit proggy, try this out. War of the Worlds, double album. What a fucking record. Like, look at this. You don't get that on a download, do you? That was the other thing too. When you bought a record, you'd bring it home and you'd just be like, you'd have this thing. When you download something, you just sort of sit there and just, you scroll on Facebook while you're listening to it. Whereas when I was a kid, I'd put this record on and I'd just bury my fucking head in it and crank it and go, what the fuck is this? Don't get that anymore. I think kids are fucking missing out. But you know what? I'm helping you learn a bit more about what you need in your record collection. War of the Worlds. This is a fucking good record. All right. That is part one. That's part one of what I reckon you should be fucking listening to as a kid, growing up, and listening to music. And that'll shape you, man. I'm telling you, music shapes you. You ask anyone that's in a band or anything like that, that's been long term in a band, not just in it because I want to shred and get chicks. All these people played music because they fucking loved it, right? Van Halen loved the chicks too, but when you listen to that record, that is not written for chicks. It's written for fucking people who love heavy music. All right, I'm Rob Wog. That's part one of what you should be fucking listening to. Cheers.